Back here on Yaffee Live Talk Radio 102.3. Appreciate you joining the show. I am Chattanooga's conservative conscience and Tennessee's voice of reason. And by the way, we got to talk some Tennessee politics right now because Brandon Lewis is joining me. He is the founder of the Tennessee Conservative, which you can read at TennesseeConservativeNews.com. Brandon, how are you today, sir?
Man, I am great and glad to be here.
So definitely got to talk to you about this story you guys had on your site. Tennessee RINOs, Republicans in name only, apparently they're sponsoring a bill creating exceptions to an abortion ban. Why is the question for this? But go ahead, sir.
Well, both of these individuals have a long history of trying to weaken Tennessee's pro-life laws, and it's a shame because this is a big issue for a lot of Republicans. You've got Esther Helton Haynes, who's out of East Ridge, and Senator Richard Briggs, and they want to pass a bill to allow abortions involving lethal fetal anomalies and basically removes the liability from the offense of a criminal abortion. And the issue here, I think everybody has seen this played out or knows someone that's had this played out. It even happened with us, with our first child. Kristen goes in for a sonogram. Oh, there's something really bad going on with the liver. Oh, this doesn't look good. She gets all worried and concerned. And, of course, the baby is born as healthy as it can be.
Oh, really? Wow.
And so much of this looking into the womb while a fetus is still developing can be misinterpreted. And perfectly healthy babies can never see the light of day in these situations. And so what conservatives are really concerned about is that the same bad actors, the Planned Parenthood, doctors, I would call them butchers, are wanting to get back in the game, and this is a way that they feel like they can sneak around and do it. And one other thing that just blows my mind, Senator Briggs, who's the co-sponsor of this, we just got an invitation where he is speaking at an event on the same stage with Planned Parenthood, and all the attendees are at the event,
Wow.
and speakers are left-wing activists. And so you just wonder, look, why don't these people run as independents or Democrats if they're going to take these stances and constantly be in the enemy's camp when it comes to pro-life issues?
Yeah, it sounds like Republican in name only is a good way to describe them. Now, I would assume that this really doesn't have much of a chance of passing in the legislature right now, that the majority of Republicans there are really not wanting to go down this road currently?
That is what I would see. I mean, you've got it's two Democrats and Mark White from Memphis. He's also, somebody that killed a recent homeschool freedom bill. He's got a consistent liberal voting record on the Education Committee, and he serves on this one as well. And so it's not unusual. The medical lobby, the Tennessee Medical Association, is a strong lobby in Tennessee and often not very conservative. I mean, they are big medicine, and it's all about how do we make sure that our institutions and our doctors that we represent are profitable. It's not necessarily about the ethics or the morals or aligning with the electorate in Tennessee that's very conservative. And so this looks like another case of where these elected officials, if they surveyed their constituents, they would not be in favor of this. But often the medical cash speaks a lot louder than the conservative constituents, and the constituents aren't always as informed as they need to be, and so they get taken advantage of. But hopefully this thing will not make it out of committee, but we will have to see.
Yeah, I think you're right. It sounds like they were kind of trying to be very sneaky about it, crowd it in language that maybe Republicans could get fooled into supporting, but I don't think it's going to work, at least not this time. I'm speaking with Brandon Lewis, who is the founder of the Tennessee Conservative. Also want to talk about this story. I understand there were protests because of this illegal immigration bill allowing Tennessee school districts to refuse illegal students, and that passed in a House subcommittee, but protesters are still mad about it.
Absolutely. And, number one, I would say if you know Bo Watson, if you're a constituent of his, if you know him personally, I would text him, email him, and say, hey, thank you for standing strong on this issue. Tennesseans have been asking him and leadership for the last 4 years to cut off the illegal immigration magnets, and education is the most expensive, largest one that we have. And not only is it just an expense, it is hurting Tennessee kids. It is strangling resources. It is distracting teachers in the classroom, and we need it to stop, especially at taxpayer expense. But of course, your typical suspects showed up: the Tennessee Immigrant and Refugee Rights Coalition, the Metropolitan National Education Association, the Tennessee Education Association, and they don't care about the quality of the education. What they care about is the cash. And every time an illegal alien comes into a school, I mean, they get $12,000 state, federal, local money. They don't want to see that money disappear. It's not really about the quality of the education. And it's amazing also, Shelby County schools, you know, the epitome of educational excellence, Shelby County. Approximately 65 students came to Nashville and several chaperones, as if we need to be bringing kids out of, I think it is the most failing school system in the state is in Shelby County. Yet this is the school system from which people are coming to protest this national school system, probably the number two failing school system. And so it's just amazing that failure follows failure in this regard. And so one interesting thing to think about is we did a huge illegal immigration protest a couple of years ago at the Capitol. We had hundreds of people show up, conservative constituents, and there wasn't a single liberal corporate media outlet that covered it. But the next day, there were a handful of folks, advocating for illegal immigrants in Tennessee, and it had wall-to-wall coverage in almost every single media outlet. And so most outlets are all for this. It's only me. As far as I know, we're the only, pro-Tennessee anti-illegal immigration publication that reports on this, and so it is quite frustrating.
Yeah, it's interesting, too, because you'll have local outlets here in Chattanooga. Man, if there is a liberal protest against Elon Musk where only 5 people show up or something, they'll cover that. But you and I guess we need to organize a big protest here when it comes to this issue and see if they cover it.
Hey, if you want to work on that, we'll see if we can build a crowd and do something this summer. I think we're going to see some headway in the legislature, but there's a lot of interest in it. And it's hard, right? When you've got an issue, whenever money is involved, typically the good of the public gets shuffled to the side. I mean, and that's in campaign contributions, that's in government spending. It's always, we need more money. This is the largest government job factory in Tennessee. It is the education system, and they do not want to let go of a penny. They don't care about the outcomes for the students, and it's very shameful in my opinion, but it is par for the course.
Speaking with Brandon Lewis, he is the founder of the Tennessee Conservative. You can read that at TennesseeConservativeNews.com. Just about a minute, maybe 2 minutes left here, but I did want to ask you about this bill requiring Tennessee residential schools to segregate restrooms, based on biological sex. I'm guessing that's going to pass pretty easily, but what do you say?
I believe so. Tuesday, it came out of the Education Committee in a 13-3 vote. And later an 8-1 vote in the Education Committee, and it was completely along party lines. I mean, even RINOs know that boys don't need to be in girls' bathrooms. It's amazing we didn't have some defectors, but we didn't. And that's what all this is about. I mean, primarily. I mean, it's not about girls going into boys' bathrooms, but, I think I've mentioned this before when I went to see Riley Gaines speak at a Hamilton County Young Republican event, Ottawa. And she talked about her experience of having, having to share a locker room with a naked man and bringing her protest to the NCAA and being rebuffed and shamed and everything else. And so I think we see the tide turning on this insanity that we've had in our culture for the past, actually several years, maybe even a decade. And so in Tennessee schools, hopefully the kids can breathe easy on this particular problem, and it will not resurface. At least that's what I hope.
Brandon Lewis, founder of the Tennessee Conservative. The podcast of this conversation will be up on the website later on. I'm sure TennesseeConservativeNews.com, your other podcasts as well, and all the state news you need to know. Brandon, really appreciate you coming on, my friend.
Thanks for what you do. Hang in there, buddy.
All right. Thank you.